Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 10th Street Journal podcast. My name is Jagosi, also known as Alan here, and we are joined by a few of our members of the 10th Street Journal. First off, we have Braxton Wolf. What is up, Braxton? How you doing, man?
I'm doing good,
It's good, man. Good to hear. How are you excited for this week?
Yeah, looking forward to continued changes across Historic.
Cool. Awesome, man.
And gonna be hopping into that this week.
Awesome. Next up, we have Shinogi. What up, Shinogi? How you doing, brother?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. Excited for our first episode.
Yeah, absolutely. And last but absolutely not least, our newest member of the 10th Street Journal, Pokey Pope. What up, Pokey?
What's going on, everybody? Super excited to be here. Really excited for, being a part of this. Thank you guys for having me. I know Shinogi kind of just met me on Twitter and was like, "Hey, man, I kind of like some of the stuff you post. You seem really cool. You want to get in on this?" So, yeah, let's not disappoint.
Yeah, I mean that's how a lot of us kind of met through Twitter. Actually, I think all of us literally just met through Twitter for the most part.
Absolutely. That is exactly, I was going to say that. That's exactly how I met Shinogi.
Awesome. Well, guys, everybody, this is our first episode 1 of the 10th Street Journal podcast. Name is pending. If you guys have any interesting suggestive names that you would like to throw at us for the podcast, please make sure to drop them in the comments below for us. And we definitely would love to hear from you guys about that. But we're going to jump into today's topics here. So first off, we got a few interesting things happening in Magic this week, over the past week and a half. First thing we'll kind of cover is the State of the Game July post was released by Wizards of the Coast, and there's a few interesting things in there that we definitely would want to cover and talk about. We'll also talk about Jumpstart because that just released on Magic Arena this week as well too, and I know we've all had some opportunities to play a little bit of that and some historic as well too, with some of those new cards. We're going to talk about the Star City Games, their online series. A few interesting things happened. We just had the Championship Series 1 just finish up, and then also they announced their Series 2, Season 2 as well. So we'll kind of talk about that a little bit. And then also we had the Red Bull Untapped Qualifier 3, International Qualifier 3 this weekend just wrapped up as well. So we will be talking about that. Finally, we'll be closing out with some articles coming out on the 10th Street Journal as well this week. So we will we'll tell you kind of what's happening in our world, what's coming up, and for stuff for you to look forward to. So first off here, kind of the big thing and the big topic I think that we can really talk about heavily here is the State of the Game for July is officially out, posted on the 15th, so 4 days ago as at the recording of this podcast. And there was some really cool stuff. There was obviously, they announced Jumpstart. This was the day before Jumpstart released when they posted this. So they talked about Jumpstart, how the event functions. We'll talk about Jumpstart here in a minute, but there was a few interesting things that we definitely do want to cover. So first off, the Arena Historic Arena Open is coming back. So they did the standard one not too long ago, and this one is historic. So that's really interesting. Super cool that that's coming back. Now, guys, what do you think is going to be kind of the top performing decks from this series? I mean, they're running it the exact same way, right? It's like 2-day qualifying period, or first day qualifying period, second day best, 2 losses and you're out, or whatever, or 1 loss and you're out. So what do you guys think is going to be kind of the top decks now that we have some new cards in the format?
So
Goblins.
I knew you were going to say that. I'm interested. I'm trying to find it. Is day one best of 1 again?
Day 1.
I think they announced day 1's gonna be best of 1, and then it's gonna be the same thing as the second day as
Day 1,
best of 3.
Okay, so the same setup. Honestly, I think there's going to be a possibility for 2 different decks. I think you're going to have, because every deck kind of has its advantages. There are decks that even in a best of 3 world are meant to win game 1. I can think of like Modern Burn is always that way. You want to get game 1 and then give yourself 2 sideboard games the ability to like win one of them, because a lot of your sideboard games get worse. I think some of your greedier decks, some of your looking for the cheap win quote unquote decks are going to perform really well. Game one, I know. I saw a post, and I think you jumped on the deck. You're go see the. I'll air quote it, Naya Luca deck.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, I did jump on that. Actually, speaking of, I just changed the screens over. I just realized first episode technical errors here. I just switched over. You guys saw in the video podcast, if you're watching, you guys should be seeing some gameplay here of that exact Naya historic deck. So you'll just kind of get to watch that as we're listening to our sultry voice. Anyways,
So,
continue as you were.
so I think that's probably a deck that has legs to be able to perform well day one. Day two, possibly different. I mean, I think, with the hate that is in historic to stop cards like Luca and the cheap turn a token into a crater hoof, kill you in game 2 and 3. I think that deck possibly falls off. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it performs well. I think you're probably looking at, if I'm day twoing, I'm probably playing a control deck. Just seems
Yeah,
like a very good
interesting.
spot to be. Very clean, very very easy to answer stuff. You get to play big Teferi. I love him.
Just hard blue white or some kind of Esper.
So I'm personally probably going to pick Esper. Esper has the best spell selection, and then on top of that, you add in, it has its old Dominaria Ravnica mana base. Yes, you miss out on being able to play a land that cycles, where you would, you get to take full advantage of the Triome and the Jeskai colors. But I think some of the card selection that
Oh, Braxton, you're just falling off cliff. Um, okay, Braxton, I think that's an interesting thought, taking into account control as kind of the way to go. We're in an interesting place now. Obviously, the one thing I guess we didn't mention is that there were bans in that just went into effect. Nexus of Fate being huge, as well as Burning Tree Emissary being going away as well too. Also an interesting change up to the format. So we do have some changes to think about for this go around. Now, I guess Pokey, what do you think you're going to be playing in this thing? If so, what do you think you're playing here?
Definitely something I'm interested in. I'm getting back into the competitive side of Magic. I took a really long break for a while just because I started losing like the luster in it. I wanted to get back to that time of when I didn't know what good Magic was
Mm,
and just played a lot of good kitchen table with my friends,
right.
especially now with everything going on in the world. But typically when I go into tournaments, I like to do GPs when I can, 5 and 10Ks, anything that's around the area. I don't like looking at like, this is the deck I've got to beat. Like this is what deck what does me in. To me, I feel like that's too linear, and I always try to look at the cards because there are cards like Teferi, there's cards like Nissa, there's cards like Tameo and Narset that are walkers, and you've got Uro on the backside of that. There's just a lot of cards that slot into so many different decks now, and a lot of decks generating around the same colors, usually green blue variants,
Mm,
blue white variants, and you see all that. So it's not so much like, oh, I've got to beat the Team of Reclamation deck. It's like, I've got to beat Uro when it comes down on turn 4 for my opponent, and then they play a Team of Reclamation, and what do I do? Like,
right.
there's things that kill you in the format, and I am 100% against Team of Reclamation. I will scream that every day long. I think that card is abominable, but I think the format for Historic is extremely healthy right now. I'm actually excited just to get to sit down and watch it. A lot of the banning did kind of shake things up a bit. I'm excited to not see Nexus of Fate anymore.
You and me
The Gruul
both.
decks, I'm super sad about. Burning Tree was a super sweet card, and I'm really sad I don't get to see those sweet Burning Tree like Zerta Goblin your turn.
Right. Yeah, I mean, for what it's worth, I mean, they did say that they did think that there was going to be a period in time where they could think that BTE would come back into the format and be healthy, again. And I definitely agree with that. I think there is a time. I just don't know that it's now. They're the answers. It's interesting because they generally the Gruul deck was kind of the answer, the counter to the Nexus decks, where you just kind of went a little bit too fast for them. Generally, you had far more threats that they could really effectively deal with, and then
Big monsters go fast.
yeah, big monsters go fast, right? Exactly. And so, when they hit Nexus, I think it kind of actually is interesting that they took BTE out, because if no one's playing Nexus, if you're not playing Gruul to play to combat Nexus anymore, people are actually going to be playing normal Magic again. People are going to be playing sweepers and removal and things that are actually bad against Nexus, because but now they can play it, right? So interesting choice. I do definitely, like I said, I definitely do agree that there is a place and time for BT. Shinogi, what about you, man? What are you on for the Open?
I am looking into historic bans. I know.
Oh, that I did not see coming at all. I truthfully expected you were playing Goblins, man.
Can't beat them, join them, kind of thing.
So like ramp or blink, because I've seen some people playing some Bant Blink with Emil.
No,
with
this
that
is
new unicorn.
ramp. This is ramp.
Okay.
I'm gonna have all 3 Teferis in it. Ugin, of course.
Okay.
More as like, of course you have to have Euro in it. Just to get the card draw and more land on the field, just so I can actually get my Ugin out. Other than that, I have the answers for like Elspeth and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's just a basic Bant rant, honestly.
Okay. So pretty much it's pretty much the standard lists. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Well, I think for me, honestly, I think day one, just because like Braxton mentioned earlier, I picked up the Nexus. I hate that card so much. I love it when I hate it. I love taking extra turns, and I hate Nexus. I picked up the Luca deck, right? The Luca tokens deck. It was piloted to Mythic by Amazonian. She posted about it today on Twitter, and she sent me over the exact list. And I've been playing with it all day, and it has been absolute, it is absurd. You'll see in one of the matches here, I just went turn 1 Legion's Landing, turn 2 Raise the Alarm, turn 3 attack with my dudes, flip Legion's Landing, play a second Legion's Landing, play Forbidden Friendship, turn 4 play Transmogrify, kill my opponent, just dead, straight dead. It's absolutely a blowout. The deck is so fast, super linear, yes, but you kind of get around, if you're on the play, get around a lot of the fast sweep removal, unless they're playing something like Cry of the Carnarium, which is I don't think is really something that you would expect to really see right now in historic all that much. So I mean, maybe it comes to play. I mean, we are still a couple of weeks out from that. It is at the end of the month, I believe, is what they were saying here. What did they say? Oh yeah, August 1st. So it's the beginning of August. So we have some time for the format to develop. I fully expect that this is going to be a contender, at least in best of 1. I was thinking about it all day about what it would look like for best of 3, and it like Braxton was saying, it's one of those decks where you just want to get your game 1s out of the way and done, so that you have a better chance at you have two chances to take game 2 or 3, right? To take that second match. So yeah, that's probably what I'm going to be on, I think, most likely. If not that, otherwise I might be on some kind of dumb ramp strategy, because I love ramp and playing Ugin and big fuckers. So that's me.
Correction though, on the day 1, I am going to go with goblins.
Oh, day 1 you're playing. Okay, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that deck has also surprised me too.
Well, best of 1s, it's pretty much unstoppable. But honestly, when you do best of 3, you do get kind of trampled over on game 2.
Yeah, it's it is something that you definitely need to stick it to him fast but Muxus is pretty sweet. But yeah, we'll talk about that here in a little bit more in a moment. But kind of the next thing kind of on the agenda here. So there is in the state of the game, there's Zendikar Rising qualifier weekend. We've seen the some of the esports Magic esports pages kind of surrounding that and what that all looks like. There's going to be various events that are qualifying into Zendikar Rising qualifier weekend, I believe. I think there's a Star City qualifying into that as well. There's some also obviously the ranked ladder is going to be qualifying into that too. So making top 1200 mythic and constructed or limited is going to do that as well. So that's interesting. Nothing really too interesting to say about that, but for the most part, that's going to be there. Now the cool stuff. They also, so they obviously mentioned a couple of other like smaller events on Arena, FNM at home, Premier Draft Dominaria, and a new festival to get some cool card arts or some 21 cards, which is cool. But the things that are really of interest here that we wanted to discuss are Historic Anthology 4, first and foremost. And then also, in addition to that, there is Amonkhet Remastered is coming, Pioneer Masters is coming, and then there's maybe some interesting things on the dev roadmap that we had as well too that we could talk about as well in addition. So to kind of start off, Historic Anthology 4 coming as well too. That is currently, it says in concept on the dev roadmap, and I believe that they were talking about that for early 2021. So we're not quite there yet. We have a little bit of ways, about 6 months or so to go. But I was curious as to what your guys' predictions are coming into what could be, or what would you like to see in HA4? Because we've had some really insane cards come through. The Historic Anthology series, Ulamog being one of those big things coming through. So there's a lot of interesting stuff that clearly Wizards is willing to reprint. But what would you guys want to see?
I don't really know. Like,
Yeah.
historic anthologies, they bring so much to the table with here's such a limited format, and I feel like saying one thing is going to get me yelled at, but then I also feel like saying nothing is going to get me yelled at. So I'm just going to say I would like to see swords. Like,
Ooh.
I like chaos. I love the anarchy that like new and old players get when they see iconic artifacts like that, and just
Okay.
new players be like, "Wow, this is awesome," and they're staring at Sword of Body and Mind, and we're all just kind of snickering in the background. Like, that's the whim I was getting back to. I played with that card this weekend, and it was phenomenal. I loved it. I don't care that people say that's the worst sword.
Oh, I mean the swords. I love that sword.
Swords I would greatly see to come in. I don't think it's egregious to have them in.
Mm-hmm.
I think historic and just the state of extended play that's not standard. Also having them in like maybe brawl or when we get singleton would be super fun.
Okay.
Kind of start nudge EDH in there a little bit more.
Okay.
Like give us something to look forward to.
Okay. I like it. I like it. You know what? That's actually a really good consideration I didn't think about. One of the most iconic series of cards ever printed, really, and swords, right? But yeah, that's interesting. That's cool. Shinogi, what about you, man? What do you think?
Not too sure, honestly.
I mean, actually, I'll say this actually while you actually, if you want a couple more seconds to think about it, Shinogi. Okay, what you said, that it's not egregious to have swords in the format. I actually agree with that entirely. It is something that it's kind of to keep it's kind of the ultimate like checks and balances kind of almost, right? It's aside from just straight balance, right? It is kind of the way to keep certain decks in check, and that's why you see some of the swords even like in sideboards for various strategies in like modern and things like that. It's just ways to kind of get through and jam through, and keep some of those more higher power curve decks in check to an extent, right? It's to the protection stuff. So that, yeah, I think that's a really, really interesting thought. I'm also with you on that as well. I personally would love to see some more artifact love just in general, because it is something where since Kaladesh kind of left the format, the artifact stuff has kind of fallen by the wayside a little bit. A lot of the support that we've gotten, there have been some interesting things, some cool stuff. For example, like we got Steel Overseer and Ornithopter, which is great. I love it. And it has made some of the and Tempered Steel, which is also super cool. One of my favorite standard decks of old. But it's something that we don't see a whole ton of support for, just because they are very powerful, kind of innately powerful cards all around, right? So yeah, I'd definitely love to see some more artifact love come through in HA4, definitely. I would also definitely be interested. As much as I don't think it would be a problem to put them here, but I would love to see throw fetch lands in here. Let's get fetch lands up in here. Let's make the format. Let's move it, like you were saying, move it closer towards, EDH or Commander being a thing. Move it towards maybe towards Brawl or something like that. And I know the reason why I say this is because one of the conversations that I was having with some of my other friends was kind of the homogenization between historic and pioneer, the homogenization between the two of them, because currently as we know it, the only differentiating factor between the two formats is historic anthologies and Jumpstart right now. Now, there could be other products that push are only added to historic. Things like Conspiracy or Battle Bond, if they were to do more of those series, could be added to Arena strictly for historic. But I think that those arguments are very valid, and I think there needs to be a differentiation between the formats. And so even something like as simple as fetch lands would differentiate the format quite a bit, push it even closer a little bit, maybe towards an interesting type of modern or legacy to an extent, right? So that's kind of what I'm thinking I'd love to see in there as well too. And as well, it would make or at least for me, it'd make me happy, because fetch lands are something that even when like I worked for an LGS or something, and I had the ability to pick up cards, at a reasonable cost, I'd never pick them up, and I kick myself every time for not picking them up. So having them on Arena would be nice too. But Dylan, I don't know if you, or Shogi, I don't know if you had any other opportunities to think about anything else that you'd want to see off the top.
Well, I mean, just thinking about it, I'm a huge Avacyn fan.
Okay.
Love that card to death. I would think it'd be really good to have that in historic.
You want like old Avacyn or Shadows Avacyn?
Old Avacyn.
Oh, okay. So everything is indestructible.
Yeah, the
Avacyn?
Angel.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Cool.
Let's see.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Braxton having some technical issues with Discord at the moment, but he has put in here his thoughts on HA4. Looking for a correlation to previous anthology sets to see if they've pulled if they pulled from certain sets for each one. They didn't, but he would love to see something like Twin, so like Splinter Twin and Deceiver Exarch be put into historic anthology. I think it'd be interesting to actually see that, to actually have a true, like an actual like 2-card combo format. That's not. I mean, it might be that it might be too good, but honestly, it's probably not. It's probably honestly just. Also, he wants to see. Oh yeah, if there's anything that he can play, if he can't have it in modern, he wants it in historic. Jesus. Okay, Bill, why don't you cover that one?
I just like I like straight to the face cards.
Okay. All right. So the card that Shinogi posted here was Resounding Thunder, 2 in a red for an instant. Deals 3 damage to target creature or player, but it has cycling for 5 and Jund, 5 black, red, green. When you cycle it, it deals 6 to target creature or player. That would be an interesting one to bring in for sure. I would like to see, kind of even along similar lines, love for some of the shards.
Activate and all that, and rampant growth, and I mean it'd be pretty easy to get there.
Sure, I can see it. Yeah, I mean, seeing some love also for just the shards in general. We've gotten a lot of wedge love recently. So getting shards cards, particularly support for Bant and Grixis and stuff, that would be really nice to see too. Awesome, cool. So also in addition, so we haven't Historic Anthology 4 that was announced. Also, Amonkhet Remastered got a release date, August 13th. So that's very cool to hear. Going to be cards that are from both Amonkhet and Hour of Devastation packed into one. And there's going to be about 340 cards posted through in the set. Limited experience, so it's primarily focused on limited for draft and sealed, pioneer, and support for historic. So this is going to be in historic as well. Now, what are the bombs you guys want to see come back, or do you think are going to come back? Do you think they're going to be bringing back like Scarab God into this thing, or the big Nicol Bolas that came out of that set? What do you expect to see? What are you excited to see out of Amonkhet?
I think I'll be insulted if Scarab God doesn't come back.
Okay, fair enough.
Oh man, that seems like such a long time ago. No, we had
Yeah.
Glorybringer. We had Glorybringer in that set. Never mind.
Yeah,
I know the only card I want to see again.
This Glorybringer.
Yes.
So-
Steamer Energy. Glorybringer turn 3. Deal with it.
I kind of see that coming in the play. We got a lot of zombies that can really ramp up this card.
Yeah. Also, I think so kind of just off the top of my head, I need to see Solemnity. I need to see Approach of the Second Sun, Anointed Procession, and Avid Mind Sensor. 100% need to see those cards. I don't even really care too much about what the rest of the set holds. I need to see at least those because I want to play 9 lives combo with Solemnity. I want to see so I want to do 9 lives combo with Solemnity. We need some some Jeskai Approach with Fires of Invention and Fae of Wishes. And then this would be primarily I'm talking about for Pioneer. When Pioneer comes out, we need that. Not going to be in Historic. But so that's a long play. Anointed Procession. I love me some tokens as well, so that would be awesome. An Avid Mind Sensor first for Death and Taxes. We need to see that. 100%.
I'm actually having to like look back right now and just remember like aside from me literally going to be laying in bed and screaming about getting to play Godfar's Gift again.
Godfar's.
Both the walkers from the I believe it was the Amonkhet block. Yeah. It was Gideon the Trials and Liliana Death's Majesty, I think it was.
There's also Nissa.
There is Nissa in that too.
There's a Nissa in there
Steward of
too.
Elements. She was the first planeswalker with X in her cost.
Mm-hmm.
She is a good tempo card. I played with her from the time I opened her till the time she rotated, and she was a 3 of in almost every deck I played. There's no shame in playing her on 1, and there's even no shame playing her for 8 mana, where you pick up 2 lands and just throw them at your opponent, and it's just all good fun.
Yeah.
We've also got we've got Hollowed One too.
Ooh.
We just got a fresh batch of cycling cards too.
That's
and
true.
we just got Goblin Lore.
They are.
We did not get Goblin Lore, did we?
No, we didn't.
No, we did not.
Didn't get Goblin.
Also, I'm back. I'm back.
I still think that though that is still interesting to think about though having Hollow One in the format. That's super cool.
So there's a world where the cycling deck that's in standard, where all their cyclers cost 1, because his cost reduction is what 2.
Yes.
2 per thing you discard or cycle.
He is a 5-mana 4/4.
So a world where you have a turn 3 where you have, say, maybe the Fox out, the one that pings your opponent, and turn 3 you go cycle, swing for. That's a lot of damage.
Cycle, free Hollow One.
Yeah, exactly. And swing for a crap ton of damage. Like that's the world that I like. We're talking about Planeswalkers. Maybe when I muted for a second to test my mic, I didn't hear you guys bring up Nicol Bolas.
Oh, I briefly mentioned Nicol Bolas at the very beginning. That Nicol Bolas was super sweet.
I'm a Grixis fanboy. He's who I'm looking for when Amonkhet comes back in. I love that Nicol Bolas with a passion. But like you were saying, all those Planeswalkers from that set, super sweet. And none of them really, even in the standard they played in, none of them really dominated their format. You know, if you think about it, Nissa
Yeah.
saw playing the Bant Nexus deck, but like she wasn't like this like powerhouse. It was Nexus that was the card in that deck. She was in that deck, so like you had this world where like you had cards that fueled their decks, but they weren't back-breaking for your opponent or back-breaking against you. And that's a
So-
sweet place to be.
So the one other thing that I also kind of forgot about, and I was reminded briefly of it earlier yesterday while I was watching some Commander games, was actually the hour cycle. Hour of Revelation, Hour of Eternity, Hour of Promise, Hour of Devastation, and Hour of what's the Hour of Glory.
You say
Yeah, that is a cycle that I would actually be.
Yeah,
Now you
I
bring
am
it
a
up.
huge fan of our Revelation.
Yeah.
That's
So
the white sweeper one,
that was the White
correct?
Sweeper one,
Yes.
yeah. But
Yes.
imagine so Hour of Devastation, or sorry, Hour of Promise was was a card that was, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, at one point used with a card that we have now in Historic. We have Field of the Dead. That's we get more land diversity because we get deserts now to play with Field of the Dead, so we don't actually even need to play gates anymore. If that's still maybe the best way to play the deck, it could possibly be, but we do get more diversity, and Our Promise was a really great it's actually it's the perfect way to actually turn on Field of the Dead because it gets you 2 lands, right? So that's pretty impactful.
Yeah, I'm totally in agreement there. I think I was gonna bring up, if no one else did, the Scape Shift package that we have in. Like, I mean, Hour of Promise got printed. It immediately went into modern Scape Shift deck. Like, there's not a world where it doesn't play in the historic one. Like, that's double Field of the Dead grabbing,
Oh yeah,
possibly.
jeez, that's huge.
Yeah, like that card
It might
is
cause Field of the Dead to get banned. Actually, that deck might take over if
maybe. I mean, the card's been. It's did it go on suspension or did it get the full ban? Field of the Dead.
oh, it's back.
Right, I know that, but it's been at
Oh,
least
it was suspended. It was suspended and then it came back.
okay. I think so. I think there are some points to be made. The mono red deck, Gruul deck, whatever that looks like, it can sideboard Rampaging Ferocidon. That's not an easy card for your Field of the Dead decks to deal with
That's true.
on average. Not and keep the pace that they need to against the mono red deck. I think
fair.
that's a world where I think yes, like when you're talking about answers, you don't necessarily want it to be one color has the answer to the top deck. But I think when there's always that ability to keep it in check by just sticking a 3/3 who beats face, also punishes you for your big play, I think that's a world where Field of Dead could possibly. Now, could Our Promise push the Scape Shift deck? 100%. There's no doubt in my mind. Will it? We'll have to see.
Also, last thing I think for me, anyways, Torment of Hailfire. One of the most insane win conditions out there. Super polarizing. Really cool. That's my last really exciting card that I want to see make it into the deck or into Amonkhet Remastered. But any last cards you guys are super high on for some of these?
man,
Set?
y'all are sleeping on my girl. Y'all are sleeping on my girl, Combat Celebrant, and
Ooh.
I'm so sad.
Oh god, infinite combat
Yeah,
stats.
How
Is
you
that a
how
thing
do
that we
y'all
get
how
to
do y'all
do
leave my
again?
girl out of this?
Oh
I
boy.
forgot because we have Helm of the Host in Historic, or do we not?
Yeah, we do.
Helm is yeah. So we get something that is viable in realms of like competitive EDH, something that's a go-to in a lot of formats. A lot of your, not modern, but like modern's, quick as you don't get to play 5 drops in it unless you're Tron. But I love that. I completely blanked it. You are correct. I love the card.
We also have the Cats deck. We will
Oh, yeah.
actually have, I believe, a viable Cats deck to play because we do get the Regal Caracal, and then we get the what was
Dorn
it?
Pouncer.
We get a Dorn Pouncer, Pride Sovereign too.
Oh.
We got the Regal Caracal for the buffs. We got the Adorned Pouncer that does have double strike for Eternalize. There was another one that was
Wasn't it like a 1-drop?
it had
1/1?
lifelink, yes, because I played it in Godfarrow's Gift.
It was
Yeah.
a
It was
Embalm 1/1.
Oh, it was from
Or
it was
Embalm.
Amonkhet specifically.
Yeah, because it was because Adorned Pouncer was the eternalized version of what I would assume of this card. Because it was the
absolutely
1/1 that
Sacred Cat.
embalmed.
Sacred Cat is a
Sacred
1/1
Cat.
lifelink that embalms and it comes back as a 1/1. That was the one most commonly played in GPG because it
Was a 4/4
crippled it
lifelinker on its way back.
absolutely, and then being able to play it on turn 1 and then embalm it on turn 2 just crippled aggro decks.
That is fair.
But yeah, I'm super stoked. That's what I'll be on. I mean, you guys are gonna get annoyed hearing about me and Godfarow's Gift when Amonkhet remastered if we get it. I guess my last thing is the lands, utility lands. I loved these lands. I played Hostile Desert even in Modern because I'm a huge player of Ghost Quarters. We get Hazaret back too. We got Big Red again. Glorious End. I know there's 5 or 6 different cards in Standard right now that can utilize just a hey, turns over, let me take my turn, kill you.
Also, like you were talking about earlier with the 9 lives combo deck, that fits. Glorious End fits in right with that deck.
And
This
chance for glory too, since we're both
Chance
red.
for Glory, you get 8 copies of your
Extra turn spell.
end. Yeah, because one's end the turn, one's extra turn. So like, you have 8 copies of this concept of, all right, we're gonna do this, and I'm gonna win because I can't actually lose the game. You break the symmetry of that card. That's something I love.
I know that I said that Torment was my last card, but I completely forgot As Foretold as well.
Oh my gosh.
I love As Foretold in Mod. I loved that deck so much, and I'm very excited to build around that here. Historic. Gonna be very, very exciting times. Shinogi, any last minute ones from you, my dude?
I'm actually looking up As Foretold. That's actually a really good card.
Yeah, it's nutty. It is absolutely nutty. You get to play the perfect blue-white control deck with it. It's yeah, it was sweet. It was super sweet.
Not pay the mana cost either. That's actually
it almost is like
insane.
I wonder if it's gonna be like it's almost as good as like Fires of Invention to an extent, right? It's almost as good. It's kind of a similar concept, but you get to play at instant speed. You actually get to play on your opponent's turn, which is ridiculous.
So I do have
Shinogi, you're not excited to have the best lightning strike back in Historic?
Oh, I'm excited.
We get a braid back.
Heck yeah.
Go upgrade. Something else that Shinogi's going to be a fan of, because I was going to bring this up after we talked about Godfarow's Gift. Champion of Wits, Earthshaker Kenra, the rare cycle of eternalized creatures that are just nutty.
Gee, I'm looking them up right now.
That's great.
Like Earthshaker Kenra. Did you play a Monkhet Standard, Shinogi?
I did not.
You're gonna love Earthshaker Kenra. 100%
Yeah.
promise it.
Yeah.
This card is insane in the mono red deck.
It
Real
was
quick, we talked about the utility lanes. The red one that shocks you. I can't remember the name of it right now.
Ramen Up Raids.
Raminat, yeah.
Yes, that in standard is going, or in historic.
Actually gonna be good.
The mono red aggro deck is going to blow up, and I know at least one person's pumped about that.
I mean, truth be told, Hazaret Red was the best deck in the format, literally until Amonkhet basically rotated out of standard. It was insane. It was so consistent. It was just super fast, really consistent, really, really good.
I mean, Ramen Up Ruins got banned.
Yeah, I mean Ramen Up Ruins and ended up getting banned from it, and eventually also Varasanon got banned out of it too because that deck was just way, way, way too good to be left alone. So uh last last thing here that I want to talk really just very quickly on what are your do you guys think they're going to release the masterpieces as the masterpiece arts for some of the cards, like new masterpiece arts for maybe like the gods or something like that for um
Honestly, it would suck for the collector side of things because most of the people spent so much money to try to collect the original art. And if they
Well,
reap a new like masterpiece art, it's the I just feel like the value of the original ones are going to go down.
well,
It's
this series is only arena, right? This is these sets
yeah,
getting put on arena.
this is
okay,
just
so they're
arena.
not
This is
doing
just
okay.
arena.
Yeah.
Let's
So
say
like,
because like that's going to shit on a lot of a lot of collectors.
Yeah,
no, you're
I was saying,
absolutely
do we
right.
think that they're gonna do like the card
Oh, it's
styles?
just arena. Of course they are.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I was
The
going to just say something
outrageous.
along this. Yeah, that's something that's definitely possible. Maybe Shinogi's right, and it is like a kind of a, you know, not to say call it a dumb question, but like a of course moment.
Yeah.
Like of course it's going to be in.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Moving on to Pioneer Masters. Okay, so Pioneer Masters was announced in the state of the game. And it's actually coming sooner than we think. It's coming in Q4 of this year. So, in the and basically in the tail end of the year, October to December sometime. And so what they've said about it is that they are talking about looking at the sets that are currently legal in Pioneer, pulling a bunch of them together and putting them into a single product to be released on Arena for both limited and constructed play. They also hinted that it's probably not going to be the last Pioneer Masters set that comes out. So they expect there probably is going to be at least a couple of them. And so, kind of from that, what do you guys think about this? Kind of as a whole, as far as and I'm gonna the Pioneer goes back, kind of everything that we have right now in Arena, and then it goes back to Return to Ravnica, as far as the premiere sets go. So what do you guys think about Pioneer Masters being coming up so soon?
I'm excited, honestly. I was thinking about just recently getting into MTGO just to play Pioneer, you know, just to get into the tourney side of things and everything. But like, if Arena's getting it, I mean, that's really exciting because it brings more players into the mix as well, you know.
Hmm.
Because like, I feel like MTGO is just outdated. I mean, I'd never liked the interface of the game, you know, just the looks of it all. And I feel like since Arena looks a little better, you know, and I feel like it's going to be the new MTGO if that makes sense, you know.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. What about you? What about you, Pokey and Braxton? What do you guys think about Pioneer Masters kind of as a whole?
I am I'm ridiculously excited. I really hope that Wizards takes the chance to look at Pioneer in paper and say, okay, these are the good things we did, and okay, these are the bad things that we really can't do anything about right now. Paper Magic will be Paper Magic. That's just the way it has always been since the
Mm,
game came out. Just looking back from Return to Ravnica up right now, the biggest thing that stands out to me is pretty much the between cons and origins. There's a lot of good cards in between there that I'm super excited to see. The entire cons block, just I'm ready. I want to see all of that. Origins, I want Flipwalkers back. There was a lot of good uncommons in Origins that got overlooked. We'll get Eldritch Moon and Shadows of Innistrad, which I'm gonna drop $200 on. It's gonna be great. I'm gonna have such a blast. Um, it's just Battle for Zendikar. I don't even have to talk about those. Zendikar, Gatewatch. Those sets speak for themselves. I really do think they'll take a chance here to inject the better portion of Pioneer because I've played a lot of Pioneer in paper, and it's a blast. It's so much fun. Uh, RTR again. Don't need to explain those sets to anybody if you've been playing Magic for the last 5, 6, 7 years. You know what comes in these sets. They're powerhouses.
Hmm.
I'm really excited. It's coming a little sooner than I thought it was. I'm just really. I don't have anything else to say. I'm hyped. I want to get back into Arena for this purpose.
My wallet's gonna be screaming pretty soon.
Yeah. Yeah. Telling me. Braxton, what do you think, man? What are your thoughts kind of just overall Pioneer and the fact that this set is coming up so fast?
So, as the concept of it coming to Arena, love it. I like the idea of diversifying your formats. Going up, this will be constructed format 3, which I love. I hope in a future there is a world where we get at the very least modern to have 4. I think the concept of a Masters set, or is that what they're called? Pioneer Masters, right?
Yeah.
A master set versus releasing whole sets kind of reduces the collector wear of trying to collect a whole set and getting a bunch of these commons you're never going to play. I think the Masters concept is really good. Now, I'm saying all this good stuff. We've said a bunch of good stuff. I'm going to be a Debbie Downer real quick. What I'm not looking forward to, Demir Inverter, Lotus Field. The format's not in a good place right now, personally. I don't want to be sitting in a bunch of combo matches on Arena. Sure, none of us do. Coming, love it. Format needs fixed in the meantime.
Yeah. I'm with you on that one actually. I'm super excited to have a bunch of these older cards because realistic. I played a lot of my competitive Magic back during RTR Theros blocks, and so those cards have a very very special place in my heart, and so seeing them come to Arena, even some of the stuff from like Kaladesh and Eldritch Moon, Battle for Zen, the cons blocks, like all that stuff is super 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 exciting to see. But understand, and I don't play a lot of Pioneer, and hardly any Pioneer whatsoever, but I understand that the metagame is not in a good place. The top 3 decks, and potentially even now, and I wrote about this in my BNR analysis article, that currently, but prior to the bannings, the top 3 decks were effectively combo decks, right? You had Demir Inverter, which was kind of the control combo deck. You had Mono White, which was the aggro combo deck, with Heliod and Walking Ballista. And then you had Lotus Field, which is straight up a combo deck, right? Just inherently 100% combo. And now with the unbanning of Oath of Nissa, you have the potential for Kethis combo to come up and potentially be a little bit more powerful, maybe as the number 4 kind of deck. And I'm with you, Braxton. I don't want to sit and play for the same reason I didn't want to really touch Historic for a little while Nexus was still around. I don't want to sit around and just play combo matchup after combo matchup. I don't think it's too much fun, honestly. So yeah, I think that Wizards really needs to sit down, take a good hard look at the format, and not be afraid to to dumpster out on a few of these top contending decks that honestly the people who play the formats a lot more regularly have been honestly screaming for and calling for a very long time. Like primarily, Inverter and Field are kind of the 2 big offenders here. So they definitely need to do that. Now I think that kind of what they've hinted at here with the notes of with Pioneer Masters releasing, saying that there's a couple of sets, and kind of knowing as well what we know about some things with Arena. I think the way that they're going to plan this out is that they're going to do Amonkhet remastered, they're going to do Kaladesh remastered, and they're going to do Shadows over Innistrad remastered as well. And we're probably going to see Kaladesh remastered somewhere in like early 2021, kind of maybe around the same time that Historic Anthology 4 releases. And then we're going to see Eldritch Moon be remastered come maybe right around the same time as Pioneer Masters 2 as well, because we do know that there are some cards, or at least half of Shadow's block is programmed into Arena. It's just not visible. It was never in the game to be playable. But Kaladesh and Amonkhet both were. So I think that the Masters sets are going to primarily focus on Khan's block, or sorry, Battle for Zendikar block and backwards, just so that that's a really clean way to get the entirety of that format into the game. And then once Pioneer Masters 2 comes out, then they'll kind of officially launch Pioneer as a format on Arena. At the moment, I think that Pioneer Masters is just going to be more historic fodder, and then eventually, then they'll release Pioneer. And I think for that, we're probably looking at a like mid Q2, early Q3 Pioneer release for 2021. I would imagine that's just my guess, kind of how based on how they've been spacing out some of the historic anthology sets and stuff in the past, and with kind of the current dev roadmap. I expect that's kind of where that's gonna be at. So that's I know. What do you guys think about that? I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that timing of Q2, Q3 area for all of Pioneer to be here is a decent place to be. Like, it's a world where you have these. It's you get to play to an extent Pioneer, and kind of continue to build hype for the format as you get more and more into it. And maybe I don't know how they're going to do their masters. I like the way you said it. Maybe they also just kind of look at the meta and they go, okay, let's get the top X decks as options. I don't like that setting of a world, but it is an option. It gets the format playable to an extent. Maybe they take the top 10 decks, make their cards that aren't already on Arena the master set.
Right.
I think that's a world where we could see, that gets Inverter in, that gets Walking Ballista in. So, like, what I would prefer to see is they get the playable the cards that have been playable set by set. But I can't say that I don't think they will do that, where they do get the top decks in, so that it is actually wanted to be played, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that makes sense. Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting time. We have a lot of really cool cards coming out here for Arena over the next few months. Kind of the last thing out of the state of the game, very quickly, just going to touch on cool stuff. Mobile coming soon. Zendikar Rising coming soon. Also, they're working on the next standard set, which is currently titled Equestrian, which is very interesting. Also, the other last really cool thing is deck sharing, like friend deck sharing. So if you're friends with somebody on Arena and you're gonna do like a direct challenge match, you can actually share decks across, similar to what is in Hearthstone already. So that's some interesting cool things coming down the pipeline on the roadmap. Real quick, 5-second thoughts on all this stuff.
On the deck sharing, is it like more of a collection deal, or is it just specific decks you can share? Like if you want them to play that specific.
If it's like Hearthstone, because that's where I'm gonna draw my knowledge from on the concept deck sharing. It'll be, say you and I are playing, I will have decks built, and you will get to my decks, not necessarily my collection.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna basically, the way it works in Hearthstone, it literally ports over every deck that I have built onto your end of it.
Yeah. So then you can see and pick and choose the deck.
Mm-hmm.
Now the mobile version of it, that's gonna get me in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be at work playing Magic.
I'm
excited for it though. Don't get me wrong.
my 5 seconds. I love deck sharing. Makes anyone who's interested in getting more competitive and can get with some people, it makes being able to test a lot easier. If I was a developer, if I could, go back in time, reorganize how this developing goes, I would right now I would want mobile and friend deck sharing to actually switch. I'm not looking I'm looking forward to mobile, obviously, but like some of the screenshots you've shared, Shinogi, could you imagine trying to click through 70 goblins to attack with on mobile?
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Try to block with them? Like,
So
I don't know.
for what it's worth, as far as the mobile stuff is concerned, I actually play a fair bit of Arena on mobile right now through Steam Link.
Oh, that's right.
So I have effectively the PC interface on my phone. Now I have a Note 10 Plus and I have a stylus, so that actually helps a ton. But when I just use my finger, it's really not that bad. And for all the people out there who are posting screenshots of like, quite literally 150 tokens on both sides of the field, like what are you doing to get to that board state, right? Like you're purposefully getting to that board state. That's not something that should be happening in a normal, constructed ladder match, right? That should not be happening. If it's happening, then both of you are just not killing each other. You're just doing this for the sake of trying to make a point that I don't think realistically is going to come up all as much as you think it's going to come. So that's my 2 cents on it.
I don't know. Did you ever play the Field of the Dead mirror?
Yes.
You got into hella staring contests there. Like,
See, and here's my um here's my answer to that. Attack all. Attack all. Attack all. Math is for blockers, boys. Math is for blockers. Attack all.
I wasn't gonna say anything, but I was like 37 goblins. Why are you trying to assign that? Like, if it ain't lethal, turn them sideways.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly though, with the goblin deck, you use the goblins to actually cycle for mana as well. You can sacrifice a goblin for mana to get a bigger creature out. It's just used as that. But usually on turn 5, you at least have like 20 goblins on the field. So it's crazy.
Right, and realistically though, if you think about it, right, if you're using Skirk Prospector to crack goblins for mana, you're probably cracking your tokens, and they're stacked up reasonably nicely. You're probably not sacking off like the like middle third token or something specifically, right? You're just doing the top one. You're just jamming and going to town on it, right? So it's not like I don't expect that it's going to be like too big of an issue. I think people are just a little bit overreacting on it. But we'll have to see kind of how it plays out. Obviously, the interface is going to be a little bit different. Kind of as Hearthstone's mobile interface is a little bit different. I think it's going to be a dream to play on tablet just with a larger scale screen and whatnot. I think it'll be great. But for mobile, I'm not super worried about it. I think it'll be fine. We'll just have to wait and see how that comes up. It should be coming soon. I think they said it was 2020, so that's exciting. So, cool. Next thing here we're going to cover through, and we're going to kind of blast through some of the stuff here real fast. Jumpstart thoughts. We've gotten to play the event now that has been released on Arena. What are your guys' kind of overall thoughts with the event?
Hate limited, love Jumpstart. Okay. That's all I've got on that.
I will second that. I am not a huge fan of limited. Just never have been. This is granted, this is probably closer to pseudo limited. It's this weird new thing to Magic, and I'm all about it. I love it. It is a blast. It is a lot of fun to be able to go in, pick. Who knows what deck you're gonna build? I currently am on Well Red Rainbow, and I'm playing that, and that is a blast.
Actually, easily. I know I messaged you guys earlier, about an hour before this podcast started. I had actually picked up Liliana's Dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And there is nothing like playing a 5/5 flyer into a 6/6 into there's nothing like playing a 5/5 flyer into a 12/12 Galta.
Oh my god.
That sounds awesome.
So I think the best I've done. The way I've been doing it is pick 2 decks, get 2 wins, resign it. Just having fun with the deck for a bit, but then getting my 2 wins to get my 2 cards and get to the next one. I can't remember name of it. I think it was Rampaging. It's mono red, just kill stuff.
Smashing?
And Smashing, yes. I got Spooky Smashing, and that is a beating. Quickest 2 games almost ever.
Yeah, I got lucky. So I've done a bunch of the runs. And I didn't realize this until I watched a video today on Goldfish's channel on how they do the packs. There are there are common packs, rare packs, and mythic quality packs. So there are some like the Liliana pack, like the Planeswalker pack, is considered a mythic pack. I think it's one where essentially you are, it's a lot less likely to get it. So I think I got lucky with this one. I got Rogues and Discard, which I think are they're definitely not common. I haven't seen them ever since I seen that one set, and it was my first match with it was literally turn one Thieves. What is it called? Thieves Guild
The black with
Enforcer.
flash.
Yeah, the new one with flash, right? So turn one that, turn two Tiny Bones, and my opponent conceded. It was just like, oh, that was disgusting. Actually, the most gross thing I've ever seen. So like that was and then the second match was just an absolute blow. It's just like rip my opponent's hand apart, get a bunch of dudes in play, and just go to town. And it was like, man, this is a fun format. I love I'm a little bit more of a fan of limited. I love like cube and stuff. So this is kind of more in line with that for me. Love it, digging it a ton. Shinogi, what about you, man? Did you get? I assume you got to play a little bit of this, right?
I didn't dive into it too much. Honestly, I really don't have a say in it because I didn't play too much of it.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. Now, kind of along the lines of how Jumpstart is working, the monetization model is one that has a lot of people in uproar around because there are some flaws with how Jumpstart works. So you can't buy packs on the store, which is a problem. That's one of the things that people are complaining about is you can't buy packs. So card acquisition is very, very difficult, right? You get your packs through playing the event primarily, and if you get 2 wins, you get 2 rares or mythics out of your ICRs, your individual card rewards. But when you open the packs to do the event, it doesn't contribute towards your wild card tracker for when you open packs. It doesn't contribute towards that at all. So while the pricing of the packs are the same as a normal pack, you're not getting that benefit. You are getting vault progress, which is something, but you're not getting specifically that bit, right? So that's and then also on top of that, in addition, there is no duplicate protection, so you will get Woe Strider or some other rare that's already in standard, already printed in standard that you already have your 4 ofs, your play sets of already. You'll get that as an individual card reward, so effectively that's a blank, right? So what do you guys think would be going forward? What's the proper way for Wizards to kind of release these historic exclusive packs that maybe are like something akin to Jumpstart, maybe more like Conspiracy that's meant to be drafted, or Battle Bond that's meant to be Two-Headed Giant? Like, do you think that they should release packs on the store to be purchased, or do you think that it's something where, do they have to go a different route?
So I will say that Jumpstart does technically offer a different difficulty that sets like Conspiracy that you mentioned do. Conspiracy in paper is a 15 or 16 card pack. Literally maybe one card more than your average draft pack. So it's not a huge ordeal. A quote unquote pack of Jumpstart is what, 20 cards? It's half of one of those decks.
Yeah. Or no,
So
it should be something similar. It's just that it's they don't include the basics, right? So it's enough to effectively have like, I think it's like 16 or 17 basic lands. So you get enough to do that. I don't know what the paper packs look like. I don't know if those are more. I assume those are more than what we get here.
I think they're 20 a piece. Because I think the decks in paper include their basics because you can get the art from it.
Oh, I guess that's true.
So
you get one. It's
you
super
get
upsetting.
one of them in paper.
We had them given out at the before Wizards announced the rebanning on sanctioned events. We had a event at our LGS for pre-release, and they gave those out as prize support. And I got goblins. Sorry, Shinogi. The art is horrible. It looks like a basic mountain until you look in at it, and then you see all the little goblins everywhere. It was cool.
Yeah,
It was cool. I just would have preferred probably any other one, specifically Phyrexian.
I feel
Oh
that.
yeah.
Yeah, that Phyrexian swamp is clean.
However, I will say the Phyrexian deck is highly upsetting. I did not have fun with that.
Really bad.
Did not feel very Phyrexian at all.
Ooh.
The only thing, I mean, I guess it was actually on par with Phyrexian because I lost all my life 13 consecutive games in a row. So I redact my statement. Very Phyrexian. If you want to get in on that cosplay, you just play the deck, your opponent wins.
You're dead all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to have seen actual packs. Just because for me, like I'm somebody who has no problem spending the money that I need to get the cards that I need to play constructed formats right away, right? With every standard legal set, that's what I do. And I know that a lot of people do, right? It's something that we don't, we're fine. We're fine with doing that. So, but we didn't get that option this time around. And so the only ways that we were really effectively getting our cards was hoping that we had saved up enough wild cards over the course of the couple of months, or like the month or so like leading up, and then from there also just opening the cards we needed from Jumpstart from the event, and then even say having we just redeeming our wild cards, or even buying standard sets that we had completed to just get wild. I definitely bought $50 worth of, I think, core 2021 because I had a couple of mythics I still needed to pick up, and then at the same time I also was missing some and then I could just get wild cards and gems out of it to just buy more packs and get enough wild cards to play the decks that I wanted to play. So I think they like the duplicate protection is one thing that's really important that needs to come into play kind of going forward, especially with reprint sets like this. And then also, it'd be nice to see pack sales. I'm sure that Wizards would have made an absolute killing if they sold just random Jumpstart packs in the store. I'm sure they would have made an absolute killing.
Yeah, like imagine if you just took all the cards and literally instead of like you're getting like say the goblins deck, you actually just got a built, what is it, five common, two uncommon, one mythic rare / mythic rare. That's how our packs look. I never remember the count offhand.
Well, I mean, even if they sold the packs as is, right? They're effectively in the event, effectively selling the packs at the same cost of buying a pack with gold, right? It's effectively boils down to 1,000 gold a pack. So it's the same. So they could even have released it just as the themed packs, which would be kind of cool to open up and see what you get. Because also there are different versions of like the common packs. So like the +1 and the heavily armored and stuff like that. There are 4 variants of those packs, so they are different. So there is, even if they released them as as they were as you get them through the event, it probably would have still been fine. I think it would have been more than enough, and people would be happy, and we wouldn't be facing some of this. So yeah, that's a interesting thought there. Lastly, kind of and I'll couple in something here as a segue kind of right at the end of this bit, but the impact on Historic, what the impact has had on Historic from Jumpstart, and kind of off the cuff. I mean, we mentioned a couple of the decks earlier, and the bannings with Nexus, and the BTE suspension, being also big players in how Historic kind of looks right now, and it being a Wild West format right now. Braxton, you mentioned earlier we've been playing the Naya tokens, or the Boros Luca deck that just dumps a bunch of tokens into play, plays literally no creatures except 2 Crater Hoof Behemoth, and then flips Crater Hoof into play to kill your opponent on like turn 3 or turn 4 with either Transmogrify or turn 5 with Luca, right? Or I guess technically it could be turn 3 if you Transmogrify. Oh no, it wouldn't be turn 3. It would be turn 4 with Luca. So you have that. And then there's also Goblins that's come up. I know that's become a really highly a very powerful deck, kind of in the best of 3 meta. A lot of people are playing that, and then there's been some other inklings of really cool decks poking around. I don't know if any of you guys have gotten quite the chance to poke around with historic since release, but that's kind of what I've been seeing. Have you guys seen any other decks that have been really interesting?
I'm working on looking into the possibility of a curiosity combo deck.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
So
That's gross.
I played a couple games against Shinogi, kind of tested out the main deck. Felt okay, but a little bulky at times. But essentially, the deck is trying to put a curiosity on Niv Mizzet Perrin, and then kill your opponent by drawing your deck.
So it's kind of like Splinter Twin, actually.
It kind of. I mean, this has been a combo for since I think it's first Niv Mizzet. I think Draco Genius does it. Niv Mizzet Draco Genius. So from original Ravnica,
Right,
also combos with curiosity,
right.
and so I'm a huge fan of the deck. I'm playing, so I currently have a Timmer list together that is just kind of trying to ramp into it. I've won games, but I don't know that it's been because I got ahead of someone so fast,
Okay.
as much as like I barely won. But I'm also going to be looking into a Jeskai list and playing more controlling. But I think that has a possibility for some legs to it, just to have a, turn 7, you're dead style
Right.
to it. We'll just have to see. I'm not sold on it yet. I'm hoping I can be sold on it, but I'm just going to keep testing and see if I can get something out of it.
Cool. Shinogi
I
or Poge, you guys anything cool?
Yeah, I will. I'll actually have my first deck tech for next week. Will be on the list that I have been working on.
Ooh.
It is a fight to the finish on which one I believe better. Is it Stormwing Entity or Arclight Phoenix?
Ooh. Yeah, I had thought about Arc Phoenix because we get Pyromancer, Young Peasy in the format too, so that's kind of sick. So yeah, I'm definitely curious to see what that's gonna shake up to.
I've been mashing them both pretty commonly in both historic and standard.
Yeah.
Standard right now, it seems like Storming Entity is probably taking the lead there. It's very much the direct route to play what's it, the Brightwing, the red blue. I always have the card art, so it's
Oh,
Dorat, the perfect pet, and the
Yeah,
Godzilla art.
yeah,
And
the
I hate
pixie.
that because I always have my Godzilla arts on, and then when I go to name a card, I'm like, it's Dorat, and they're like, that's not a card. And I'm like, well, you know what I'm talking about. Shut up.
Right.
But it's very tempo-y. It's got a good like kind of a turn and burn feel to it.
Mhm.
Uh, plays the good counter package. Like, how can I not be playing Mystical Dispute right now? The card's nuts. You've got good things like Aether Gust in the board. We do have the Art Like Phoenix package in there. We've got the Drakes. We're running like a saucy one of. You know what I'm talking about? This. You guys go read it next week.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely something we'll definitely need to be on the lookout for as well. Um, so kind of interesting segue from like the impact of the story. I guess Shinogi. I guess lastly, or do you have any other cool decks aside from Gobos that you've been jamming or seen?
Well, in standard, I've been doing really good with I'm bringing back Cavalcade. Okay,
Okay.
um, and with Hooded Blightfang, I added with Vampire, Dire Moon, everything with Death Touch. Because every time you attack with a Death Touch, a creature with Death Touch, it actually does 1 damage to your opponent, and you gain 1 life from it. On top of the 1/1 that's actually making Cavalcade pour damage to your opponent as well. So it's a constant damage to your opponent each turn.
Interesting. Interesting.
I actually didn't notice that about that deck list when you posted it. Oh my god. Like, wait a minute, that seems really good.
Sick. Super sick. Yeah. So I guess kind of the segue out of this into our tournament talk is Hoogland did an event. He had another Hooglandia Open with just this the weekend here on the weekend, and people are raving about how good that tournament was, primarily because they banned Teferi. And I think they also banned Wilderness Reclamation as well. They
Thank
basically
God.
took two of the bigger players out of the format to just say, hey, you know what? We want to see what is actually going to come of having a healthy, maybe a little bit more of a diverse format come up. What does that look like? And people are raving. People are saying that it was one of the best tournaments that's been ran, one of the most exciting things to see come out of Magic in a long time. And so people are calling for historic, like Teferi and Reclamation bans in historic because of this event being as awesome as it was. Um, I need to. I wonder really quickly. I didn't. This was something that I just had thought about. So I'm gonna see if I really quickly can pull up what the lists were, real fast here. But what do you guys think? Do you think that it is something that has historic needs? Is just we need that ban of Teferi, three fairy particularly three fairy and wilderness reclamation. Is that needed here?
I mean, if this format seemed to be healthy without them, I'm all about healthy formats, not being able to play the biggest and busted. Like, while it's in the format, sure, I'll play it, but at the end of the day, I want a healthy format always. It keeps people interested, and like it even keeps me interested. To an extent, it does get boring playing the biggest and best sometimes. It looks like, oh my,
Oh, here we go.
the first not red deck, red black deck is in 11th place for his Hooglandia Open 4.
Interesting. Yeah, so I just sent over a link for you guys to look up Hooglandia Open 4. Looking at the play until 2 losses phase, so kind of like the early phases kind of coming out of that. Rakdos Aristocrats, so Rakdos Sack coming in at 10-0. Mono Black Control coming out at 8-2. Rakdos Luris Sacrifice coming in at 7-2. The Boros Luca deck coming in at 7-2. Goblins coming in at 6-2. Rakdos Aristocrats 6-2. Mono Black Aristocrats 6-2. Goblins 5-2. So seems like Goblins is something that is taking over a lot, in addition to Rakdos Sack kind of being one of the consistent front runners over the formats here. So very interesting thoughts, or very interesting results here kind of from this tournament. Definitely, I don't know if you guys can find it, but if you guys, if Braxton, if you find the actual like the top 8 list or whatever come from for that at all,
For which event?
for Hooglandia.
I mean, I have the 8 here,
Oh, the top
but
8.
it's like I so let me see if they. So I don't think he had a top 8. I think he just had
Oh,
a
he just
play
did.
until 2 losses.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Literally, his standings are play until 2 losses phase.
Okay. So yeah, so it's looking like kind of from that Rakdos Sacrifice still the best thing to be doing in the format, but the diversity of it, there's still some interesting things that are coming up through the tournament, through this tournament. So there's some cool stuff here to look at. So yeah, I mean that's interesting. I definitely would love to see a non Bant centric or wilderness rec centric type of format. I'm happy that we haven't seen too much of that. I mean, I think Three Fairy is just kind of an unfun card as well too, which I think also could go, and I think that people are correct in calling for its banning in the format. But yeah, I guess we'll have to see if Hoogland does more of these events. I mean, he's ran a lot of these successful events, so if people do more of this, or if he does more of these events and it turns into something a lot of people really want to see, maybe Wizards does it.
So, because this is actually my first time hearing about the Hooglandia Opens, is it a thing where he bans cards or sets a meta necessity?
No, not
You
entirely.
don't think?
Sometimes
I
he
think that
just
was his
does.
first time doing that because I was in his other one. He was just doing standard,
Yeah,
Okay.
just a regular standard, no bans or anything.
yeah, it's up in the air. He wanted to see. So I think the reason why he set the ban for this particular one because it was just on the tail end of a ban list or a BNR announcement that maybe missed the mark a little bit on some of the stuff for historic. So he wanted to see what does this format look like without the cards that people were thinking really should have been banned in addition to Nexus of Fate.
Okay.
What does that look like? So yeah, so that's kind of what I think mostly it is. His last one where Winota was like the top deck was just regular old historic, nothing too crazy there. So yeah, but this is a really cool tournament series to keep up on. So okay, cool. Moving on here, the next thing on our agenda. So Star City Games just announced their season 2 for online tournaments that they are doing. Also, they just as well wrapped up their season 1 championship event as well. So kind of looking over that, Braxton, I know you had kind of looked at that a little bit. Break down what we have here as far as season 1.
For the championship for season 1, uh, I mean, if I gave you, let me see, how many different decks do I have? Top 8, I have, I'm gonna say 4 different deck archetypes.
Okay.
What are your guesses? I'm without if we all have the link without looking at it. What would you say top 8 four archetypes were? And then after, I just want to kind of see what you guys would think of what standard looks like right now would be in it. I know we talked about it a little bit before the event, but
I would say some kind of reclamation deck, probably some maybe like Bant Ramp deck, and then Sacrifice.
Sacrifice is a big one.
so top 8 was 5 reclamation decks, 4 of them being just Timur, one of them being the 4-color deck. I think it's cool. What's not cool is that it's 3 fairy. That's the card there. Then we had 1 mono red aggro, 1 Bant Ramp, 1 Rakdos deck, the Jengatha sack deck. So the free value of Jengatha in its companion slot, because they've gone away from the Bolus' Citadel build, so they don't have any cards that share. So that's what top 8 is looking like. Past that, Ramp, Yorion, Wreck. There's 1 mono black aggro player.
I mean, that's pretty big. That's definitely pretty telling. And we obviously also, like we just said, came off of a BNR announcement that hit a bunch of eternal or non-rotating formats, but completely just disregarded standard. And they did acknowledge that standard. They did acknowledge standard in that growth spiral decks were something that they needed to keep an eye on potentially. And again, I wrote about this in my BNR announcement, but analysis. But they said that they needed to watch for it potentially, but over the course of the weeks following Players Tour online events, where Reclamation was the dominating deck and Bant Ramp was kind of in there as well too as the number 2 deck, that more decks had popped up and crept up and become popular and overtaken some of the meta share with Sacrifice and mono green, mono black, mono red, Paw Blade, things like that, which I think Paw Blade's kind of as cool as the deck is. Unfortunately, I don't think it's quite as on the same tier as some of the other lists. I could be wrong, but for me, it never was. But like their argument for not doing anything with standard is that, hey, the meta's diverse again. There's been positive win rates against Reclamation, against Bant Ramp. They even mentioned Sultai Ramp as one of the new variants that's come up. It's still a ramp strategy, but and then they also said that Core 2021 has brought some really cool new tools to help diversify the format a bit. Clearly, I think that was a misstep on their part. I think that uh, I think most of us, if not, a lot of the community had kind of seen this coming, that Reclamation was still the best deck to play in the format. We did have Bant as the kind of the big bad boogeyman for a little while, but as Reclamation got some more legs and really also looked at some of the tools that was printed in 2021, it still turned out to be kind of the best deck. Once again, the top players once again re-gravitated towards it, and now we're in this situation where it's taking all the top spots again in the tournaments that are out there for standard. So, my question to all you guys: do you think that in the next BNR announcement that comes out, because they're doing them on a more frequent basis, is this the time? Do they take away Reclamation out of the format, and in addition probably then also take maybe 3 fairy out of the format as well, maybe something with the sacrifice deck too? Or do you think that they're just going to let it ride and say, you know what, we're 3 months out from rotation, we're just going to let it happen, just let standard kind of be bad for a bit and put our eggs in maybe historic or some other format? What do you guys think they're looking, or what do you think they should do?
I think it's almost insulting if they do it now. Like we've just dealt with it for, ever since the set came out. So like to kind of do it now is just like, why? Why would you do this now? We asked, the first time that it was running 5-0, 7-0, 9-0, 10-0 in leagues. It was all of the top, 3, 5, 7, 9 slots. There's just so many times that I think that even the competitive base was like, hey, this is a problem, but if you're not going to ban it, we're just going to play it. And it just got to be really boring, like Magic. Like you can go back and look. There's statistics for it on how Twitch views plummeted, either
Yeah.
on or even on Arena and on paper, when they boasted about how Arena is, oh, more people want to watch this because it's prettier and it's got lights and animations and the dog barks when you click on it. Nobody wanted to watch Reclamation matches. Nobody wanted to watch Reclamation mirrors. Nobody wanted it except the people that were playing it. And they were only playing it because it was the best thing in the format. And I think 3 months out from rotation was just, we might as well just deal with it. Like if you ban it now, you're just gonna make a bunch of people upset for 3 months.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I think I've kind of had that sentiment since the last standard ban announcement, which was, oh Lord, when did they announce that ban? That was
What,
when
the
did
Winota ban? It was a couple months ago.
yeah, no, yeah.
Or
So
sorry,
like
the agent ban.
the agent ban was what, a month and a half ago, 2 months now.
Out. Yeah.
So we were what at that time? We're looking at what right now, 3 months
Right.
till Zendikar. Even then, with 5 months to go, I was of the opinion, all right, they didn't take the Ram strategy out. At this point, it seems pointless because theoretically, the Ram strategy dies or changes come Zendikar.
Yep.
Does it actually die though when we go to a place that's known for lore-wise mana rich and the keyword landfall? Who knows? But the fact that 5 months out, 5 months from Nissa, from Teferi, from Warek not being in the format, okay, they didn't ban it then, they're not going to ban it now. This announcement comes around with no change to standard. I think that solidifies for me the fact that short of the concept of an emergency ban, and I think the current world situation where Magic's running less events, it might be that arena standard. If you don't like, I'm of a fan of grindy Magic, and even I get tired being on the ladder all the time, having these 35, 40-minute BO3s. I can't imagine what someone who doesn't like that,
Yeah.
how that goes for them, and like it's it's not fun and it sucks, but I think excuse me, short of an emergency ban, I think Standard's gonna suck till Zendikar.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I think at this point, yeah, I mean that's absolutely right. I agree with you. I think you guys both. I think that it's they're so close to just being rid of the cards anyways. They don't they can't. It's a very fine line. Like I agree. I'll admit that they have a very difficult job of also not just thinking about health of format, but also thinking about like player confidence, and not player confidence necessarily in health of the format, but player confidence in, man, I would like, or player confidence in the sense of like money is concerned, right? They want people to buy cards from, they want people to buy cards and stuff. And with the, if they go through and just start banning things left and right, now mind you, I don't think that those cards that are super expensive at the moment. I think Teferi being the most, probably the most expensive card out of there. What Teferi's? So Teferi is $15 in paper, so it's like, it's not super bad. It could be worse. Um, it definitely could be worse. Um, but it's something that like they have to think about. If they ban Teferi, well, now great, people just lost $60 of investment in their deck. If they if they ban Rec, I think Rec's probably not that expensive either.
No, it's an uncommon. It's a nickel and dime card, and the
Yeah,
biggest factor
couple
about the whole
bucks.
deck is just everything in that deck plays in other decks. Like
Right.
I have the Bant Uro list built, like the more Super Friends one. I have that built. I don't play Wilderness Reclamation, and I built it because I didn't want to play Wilderness Reclamation, and I'm one of the biggest green dumb idiots like in my play group. And for my friends to be like, "Wow, you're not playing Wilderness Reclamation," I'm like, "No, I don't. I don't
Want to.
approve of using green mana for that kind of
Those play.
gain." It's just,
Yeah.
but yeah, like at the end of the day, everything's playable in other decks. Like
Right.
I get that they want to keep what's around in the meta, but like you can play the Uro decks, you can play a green white, you can play a green blue, you know, you can play blue white, and you can play all these cards, and it doesn't need Wilderness Reclamation in it. It merely breaks that one deck up and actually opens the format up more to why people aren't playing just this blue white strategy, or why aren't people playing this blue green strategy, which a lot of them are now. They've cut the white and it's just blue green ramp with Oro, and they've got Wilderness Reclamation in there still. But it's just like it doesn't affect the culture of the deck. It just diversifies it, and
Right.
I think it's just been super oppressive. And by the time that they ban it now, it's just kind of like everybody's already set in their ways.
So
It's
they.
not going to change the format much at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough.
And something I want to add, you commented on the concept of players' money. I believe both technically and from a legal standpoint, Wizards cannot acknowledge the secondary market,
No. Yeah. Definitely.
meaning they can't make decisions based on price tags.
No, they can't. They can't make, but they can make. They can't publicly acknowledge it, but they absolutely acknowledge it
Yeah, that was
because the prices, the secondary market's price tag is directly tied to like people, like if they ban, I think this happened with when they banned when they banned the, it was back in like Kaladesh, right, when they banned Emrakul and
copycat.
Yeah, the Aetherworks Marvel deck.
Aetherworks Marvel, right, when they banned all that stuff, right, people's confidence in the format, people lost out on a lot of money from losing Emrakuls and Marvel Aetherworks Marvel.
Yep.
They
They
lost
were
out.
up 7, 8, $9 a pop.
Yeah, they
Emrakul was at
lost
like
out on a
12 or
ton.
14.
Yeah, they lost out on a lot of money, and that's not even that much by comparison to what we have right now. that, like right now we're looking at $15 for per Teferi, a couple dollars I guess per reclamation. I mean, if they
I mean,
banned
we're gonna
Uro,
talk about
Uro's $40,
we're gonna
right?
talk about how breeding pools are $23-$25 a piece right now.
Right. And so it's like it's something that's like, man, that's really that's a lot of money for people to lose. And so when people lose out on their money, people get upset. People definitely get very, very upset and stop playing the game because they're like, man, my cards are no longer my cards are no longer safe from bannings. I might, I can't invest money into a deck and play this format or play standard now because all of the cards might get banned. All these really good cards might get banned, right? So they can't directly acknowledge the prices, but they can definitely impact the price. They can definitely acknowledge the impact that pricing in the secondary market has on their player base, right? So that is a thing to consider for them for sure. But yeah, I agree with you that they should not do anything at the moment. They're just gonna have to let standard suck and ride out for a while. Thankfully, historic is hopefully gonna be pretty good for the next little bit. It'll be exploratory and fun with all the new
Right.
cards.
Which that's the other thing is that upset me while we're just on the topic of bannings real quickly. I agree. I agree with bannings. I really agree with the format of I ban your card in this digital format. I refund you a wild card immediately. And this is a hill that I am absolutely going to die on for as long as this game is a game and as long as this policy is implemented. I think the suspended list is the most scummy thing I have seen a game company do, and I've been a part of Activision circles since like Call of Duty 2. And
Oh,
it's just wild that we can say you can't play with this card for 3 months and we'll let you play with it again, even though you've spent resources to acquire it.
boy, howdy, you're not gonna like my article on Saturday then, where I'm going to go into detail about how I like the suspended list,
Oh man.
but not from a. I get the suspended list sucks. When you put it that way, I get why it sucks there. I look at it, and I'm going to write in more detail, but I'm looking at it. I would like to see its possibility of being implemented in other formats because of what it offers for the gameplay aspect. You can take. I'm not going to go into super detail, but I like what the suspended list offers from a gameplay perspective. Not because finances is not for me. I'm looking at this strictly gameplay. I get that the suspended list sucks for finances purposes because, especially in paper, who knows? This card could go back up in price. It could tank. You're in this realm of like
Limbo.
you're in this. Yeah, exactly. I'm going to strictly look at the suspended list from a gameplay perspective when I write, and I personally love the suspended list.
Gotcha. Well,
But
that is that we will very quickly talk about towards the end. Um, last thing here for SCG, we're running a bit long, but we'll blast through the last couple of things here. In a similar fashion, SCG season 2. I think SCG ran historic events at this point in time. It looks like they're only doing standard for their challenges going forward. So that's interesting to see. Whether or not that's interesting that they took historic out of that. I don't really know as to maybe just because standard is kind of the universal competitive, one of the universal competitive formats. They make it only standard. And then kind of lastly here, the Red Bull Open international qualifier was just this past weekend, just wrapping up today. In the top 8, and I think we saw it was similar results, right? For similar results for that as well as from the championship one, right? It was a lot of
I'm
wreck.
looking at it. Minorly worse. 6 of 8 were wreck decks.
Six of 8. Geez, that feels like
6 of 8 with a Bant ramp in the finishing 5th through 8th. And it looks like it didn't win. It looks like Mono White Aggro won. But that still says a lot that Timarek was 6 of 8 spots. Like that is still a big ordeal.
So, I mean, a very similar spot. I mean, two very high profile events with very similar results. Yeah, I mean, it's something I think Wizard they can't unfortunately do much, but it still kind of sucks that then these events are not willing to, or maybe I shouldn't say they're not willing, but they're not able to do um historic events or anything like that, just because standard is kind of the thing that feeds into the bigger Wizards sponsored players tour type events, right? So unfortunate that they can't do anything there. We just kind of have to sit and twiddle our thumbs for the next few months while we wait for rotation. To kind of close out the podcast, we're gonna really quickly just go through the list of us and detail what our articles are going to be coming for the coming week here on our website. So Braxton, why don't you go ahead and start with what your article is going to be?
All right. I already said it a little bit. I'm gonna hype up the suspended list from strictly gameplay aspect. Maybe touch base a little bit on the detriments of a paper format having a suspended list. But without going into more detail, I am going to lay out a possibility for another list of sort when we look at banned and restricted announcements. I'll leave it there. It'll make more sense when my article comes out Saturday, but that's where I'm at right now.
Okay, cool. Shinogi, what about you, man? What are you writing about this week?
I'm going to write about the Goblin deck I'm working on right now. Just the deck text, simple, what you can add, what you don't want to add, and like just go about like each turn, what you to expect, what you should be expecting in your opening hand, and everything else. Just going by each turn, like in details of what you're going to expect and all that stuff. Just simple deck tech.
Cool, awesome. Pokey, what about you? What are you writing about this week?
So I mentioned it a little bit earlier too. I have really liked Arclight Phoenix since it came in. Was kind of piggybacking off the idea of when I played Godfarrow's Gift, and we were using cards like Strategic Planning and Chart a Course, where you were pretty much wanting to filter through into your graveyard, and I was using things from the deck in similar ways, and it just kind of came to a clash to where it was like, I have Phoenix and I have Storming Entity, and I don't know which one is better. And then they released Riel the Everwise, and the card cycling with that. So it's just going to be a pure face-off of which bird is better. Is it going to be Arclight Phoenix or is it Storming Entity? And just I think Storming Entity needs the love, but we'll see. I've got some more matches to jam this week, and I'll hopefully have a result by Sunday.
Nice, right on. And I am going to be writing about some of my experiences with week one of Jumpstart in historic. Some of the cool decks we talked about today, and I might go into a little bit more detail, particularly I think on this Boros combo, this Boros Luca deck. I've been really digging it. I mean, if you guys are watching the video version of the podcast, you just saw there I was facing off against a Golos deck that had 12 zombies in play and a Golos, and I even missed land drops. I had I think I had 8 total dudes in play. Got my 4th land from Transmogrify, turned all my duders into 10/10s aside from my Crater Hoof, which was a 14/14. My opponent ended his life at 68, negative 68. So the deck is crazy. Yeah, it's insane. It's actually nutty. How this deck runs. So I will be writing most likely about that. That will be coming out on Tuesday of this week, and then Shinogi's article comes out on Thursday. Braxton's on Saturday, and then Pokey's on Sunday. Which again, then we will be doing the podcast again on Sunday. So definitely tune in for that. Thank you guys for joining me, guys. All you three, you guys. Thanks for taking the time to chill, talk some Magic, fun.
Absolutely.
And
Oh, yeah.
so yeah, I think that's it, right? So for everybody here over at the 10th Street Journal, signing off. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Peace.
Bye.
See ya.